What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel Jurassic PW, where we just talk about all things Jurassic. And if you are a Jurassic fan out there and you're just looking for the best channel, you have obviously found the right one right here, because we cover everything. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about what happened to the Indoraptor's body after the events of Fallen Kingdom. I told my friend I was going to do this video, and he was like, "Oh no, it just died. Nothing happened to it after it." I was like, "No, bro. You have to watch this video." So make sure you guys stay tuned until the end, because this is a very interesting theory, and it is going to get, like I said, really interesting because it's interesting theory. So start things off. The Indoraptor is my favorite dinosaur. I love the Indoraptor. I don't know how many for you Jurassic fans, I don't know if it's your favorite dinosaur, if you have a different, if you like the Indominus better as a hybrid. I don't know if you'd say this is a creature or a hybrid. I would still consider this a hybrid dinosaur, but whatever you prefer to call it is your pick. But this is a very awesome dinosaur. I love the Indoraptor. Indoraptor's smart. It's intelligent, but it is also kind of a mindless killing machine, almost like the Indominus, and that is what led, if you pay attention in both movies, that is what that's the downfall of both of these villainous hybrids, is their mindless killing machines, quote unquote. And yeah, because they're mindless killing machines, that's what led to their downfall, because they just wanted to kill everything in sight. And that scene where Claire points the laser target at Owen, it goes for Owen, falls, and is still climbs back up as a mindless machine, ready to kill the three characters on the top. And then, of course, Blue jumps in and saves the day, and the Indoraptor falls to its doom and falls right here on the Triceratops skull and dies. And that was like a super awesome scene right there. I really like that. But the only thing, though, is you never find out what really happens to the Indoraptor after that. You could just say, "Oh, it dies." I mean, it's dead. Who cares about it? It's just laying there. It's obviously just gonna decompress and get decomposed and everything like that, and just melt into the rubble and everything. That's gonna take a really long time, by the way, because dinosaurs took millions and millions of years to melt into the rocks and everything. Anyway, we won't get into that. But Dominion takes 4 years. Takes place 4 years after Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and there's a big that's a big time gap. I know everything that you have to base it. The Jurassic films are all based on like real time, quote unquote, because like 1993 was when Jurassic Park came out. That was when it came out in the real world, and dinosaurs have been around since 1993. And the events of 2015, you see that in Fallen Kingdom, all this like the new stuff, because dinosaurs are supposed to be in the real world. So what happened to the Indoraptors, I believe, because it's a 4-year gap. Of course, that happens with COVID and everything, but that's 4 years that we can fill in the blanks with what happened there. And I believe with the Indoraptor, of course, you see the television program at the beginning of Dominion. It might be at the beginning of Dominion or the extended cut. Either way, just go watch both of them. But you see the TV program, the news scene. Well, you see that, but that there's 4 years between that. When did this take place? Is this like recent? Was it 4 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? That's what we need to know. Well, I believe that the police, of course, because you see them investigating Lockwood Mansion, Lockwood Estate, whatever you want to call it, they're in there investigating it. You're looking through all these rooms. You're obviously finding dead bodies, and you're finding the dead body of the Indoraptor. And obviously, they're not just going to leave this here. So there's two things that could have happened. One, the police were there, and they took care of this. Maybe they took it to a lab and examined on it, trying to figure out what it is, because that's what they do with this stuff in the real world. So maybe that's what happened. But there's something way cooler that could have happened that I think is what happened. So, Bison is the villain is like the villain company. Like Manticore is in Camp Cretaceous. Well, in Dominion, it's Bison, and um, they do a lot of shady stuff around the world. And one of those shady places where they have a figure is in Malta, and that figure that they have connection with is Siona Santos. And I believe, because if you see Santos in the movie, she's a very shady character in Camp Cretaceous. You know that she is not in Camp Cretaceous, Chaos Theory. You know she is a little bit more of a um what is it, a scientist like here. And this is also steroids, yeah, and that's Indoraptor DNA. We'll come back to that later. Siona Santos, I believe what happened with her is you don't get as much past stuff you think you would get, like past information you think you would get in camp, sorry, not Camp Cretaceous, in Chaos Theory. Well, I believe she went and found the Indoraptor in the police because she's like a shady character. I could totally see her because she's a very intelligent character going and infiltrating the police as Lewis Dodson tells her to do, and they rearrange money and everything, and she gets DNA of the raptor, and not the raptor, the Indoraptor, and then they use that to make Atrociraptors, whatever you want to call them. And that is what happened to the Indoraptor DNA. She took it and she uses it with the laser on the Atrociraptors here, and that's what happened with the Indoraptor DNA. I believe she infiltrated the police department, or she went in there on some mission, which I believe she would have went on there on some mission, or she went in there with like some other group, steals the DNA from the Indoraptor, of course gives it back to Bison because Bison created the Atrociraptors, and that's what happened to the DNA is Bison stole it. I feel like I'm kind of rambling on saying the same thing, but Bison stole it, and then they created it in the Atrociraptors. In the steroid thing I said, maybe it wasn't steroids. Maybe it was the Indoraptor because they're very relentless creatures. Very, what's that word I said earlier? What was that stuff I said? They're very mindless killing machines. They're intent on killing that one thing. You see the raptor here is trying to go after Barry. It's intent on killing it, and of course it gets it trapped. Well, the Indoraptor was like that, and so was the Indominus. So because they had the Indominus DNA goes into the Indoraptor. Indoraptor DNA is taken by Bison and goes into the Atrociraptors. And then, of course, you know, the whole story with Dominion, the Atrociraptors are out there and they're killing the agents. They're trying to kill other people, and they're going after Claire and Owen and Barry and, you know, everybody else in there. And that's a really cool scene, but that's what happened to the Indoraptor DNA is Bison took it, put it in the Atrociraptors, so that way they still have, I'm sure they also have more like DNA so they could try and recreate. There's also one more possibility besides Siona Santos taking it to Bison. Dr. Wu also could have taken it to Bison. Maybe Dr. Wu had some samples, and there was also some pretty shady stuff going on in Lockwood Mansion. Maybe it wasn't Santos all along. Maybe Santos worked with Bison, Lewis Dodson, but Dr. Wu took it because at the end you see towards the end of Fallen Kingdom you see him taking the some DNA, and they're wrapping it up in briefcases. Yeah, you could say that the Indominus Bone died. The two dudes with Mills, they all died. The bone got smashed to pieces. Well, yeah, but Dr. Wu was still there, and we never know what happens to Dr. Wu. That'll probably be an upcoming video very, very soon on what was some shady stuff Dr. Wu was doing. And also make sure to check those out. And if you guys are liking this video at any moment, if you've enjoyed anything, and it would also help a lot if you could just like and subscribe. It's really easy to do. It's free. It doesn't cost any money. and it just helps me out as a YouTuber, and it also encourages me, and that would really make my day. If you would like this, hype this, and subscribe. So back to the video. You know, I believe that it was either Santos or Dr. Wu. Probably, I think for the lore, it'd probably be Dr. Wu. More for the actiony sequence, if you had like a story for this, it'd probably be Santos. But it was either one of them took the DNA, and then they also probably had different versions of it in the Bison headquarters, where they could create maybe more Indoraptors, more Atrociraptors. You see some of the green Atrociraptors in Chaos Theory, and maybe that's what they also did with the Indoraptor DNA. But enough about the DNA. The body itself, I don't think anything really happened to the body, because the body doesn't really mean anything. It's what's inside of it, which is the DNA, and that's what they needed. They didn't need the body. There's DNA on the body, on the scales and everything like that. Why not just get it from the insides? That's where it really is. That's where it originates in of science. Of course, that's where it is, inside of the organisms and everything. So that's what happened. They took the DNA out. The body itself, I believe the police came and they decomposed it. It didn't really mean anything. So it didn't mean anything. The bison probably didn't mean anything to Dr. Wu. It probably meant a little bit to him, because that was the design that he had created. Maybe he wanted to try and copy that. You never know. They transported a bunch of dinosaurs. They transported the Allosaurus, the T-Rex at the end of Fallen Kingdom to Bison or somewhere else, some sanctuary. Maybe they did that with the Indoraptor, illegally transported that. Again, Santos. But that's what I believe happened with the Indoraptor. Thank you guys for watching this video. There's so much to check out on the channel. There's so many videos on there. There's created playlists and everything else. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you again for watching the video.